In the fabled land of Northern California, nestled in the Valley of Sacramento, two friends begin a journey to enlighten the world about their experience living life as a Xennial. But what is a Xennial, you may ask? If you wish to know, then follow them on their adventures.
Welcome to the Xennial Chronicles. This is James.
This is Mike.
And first thing I want to say today, Mike.
Yes.
I'm calling you out here on the podcast.
You call me out? Why? What happened?
You missed it again.
What did I miss?
I don't know. We're in. You know what you missed?
You know what's funny? You just blocked out for an entire block of 10 seconds. I didn't hear anything.
Okay, I'm just saying. Okay, then I'll say it again. It's the middle of July, Mike.
Yes.
And you missed it again.
What did I miss?
See, that's the point. Let's see if you can figure it out. First of all, everybody, nice to be talking to you this week. We have some. Yes, I'm going to leave that hanging, Mike, for you to think about, just so you know. I
hate you so much.
I know. Sadly, we're coming here today to talk about something that we talk about fairly regularly because a few things have happened. I think we should explain. Can I explain kind of a format thing that we're doing now? Can I explain that, Mike?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, here's what's happening, just so you kind of all understand. Because of time constraints with Mike and all the work that he's doing at work and the stuff he's got going on at home, and for the fact that I will hopefully be having work soon. Here's to hoping that somebody finally calls me back and hires me for a job. Seriously, people, I am hireable. I would be a really good worker. It's been a long time since I've worked outside the home, but seriously, I can work. I know what I'm doing. Due to some of those time constraints, we're finding trouble being able to meet up once a week to be able to do the podcast. So we've decided to make it the meetings every 2 weeks. Is that bi-weekly or?
Yes, that's bi-weekly.
Yes, bi-weekly. Okay. So we're having bi-weekly meetings. So sometimes starting the last two podcasts were the first two that we did on the bi-weekly system. And this week, for instance, we had some personal things that we had to discuss. So we're actually going to just have one podcast that we record today. But the goal is to record two podcasts in a single day and then release one and then release the other one a week later. Kind of understand that? That's because we're trying to work on time management. So what may happen from this point on is we may have some times where we try to stay topical and we try to bring up topical things. Sometimes things will happen within the 2 week period between recordings that we may have to go back a week or two to talk about, and may not be quite as topical, but still may be things that need to be discussed. Now, again, coming up here, you're going to hear this one, and then you're going to have a off break, and part of that's because we had some personal things we needed to talk about this week. A bunch of stuff went on in our lives. I can share. I got a drum set finally after all these years of wanting one. I don't know how to play it, but I got it. So now I can learn how to play it, because it's one of those things you really can't learn how to play until you have one. And now I get to annoy the crap out of my family with my attempts to play the drums. At least I can play the guitars that I have, but nope, never really been able to play the drums. So yay for me and yay for my family. But which actually, funny enough, that gave me a whole bunch of stress of figuring out where to put it in my music room. But I think I did well. With that. You saw the video. I think.
Yeah, I loved it. I think that is a prime spot, sir. I like it.
And but anyway, point being, you're only going to get one for right now, and then the next week we'll have a week off, but we'll be back to it. And that's why I'm explaining all this, because the thing I want to start talking about this week is the fact that over the last 2 weeks there's been a number of celebrity deaths, and we've covered those before. We talk about those before, but there's a couple that were kind of big, I would say, for generationally for us, even sometimes a few of them more so, maybe even for the Generation X people that might be listening, only because they're part of that culture a little bit more. Although I was mentioning, I think to you, through a message earlier, there's two of them that really hit my wife heavily. And I don't fully understand why she's so bothered by them, but we'll get into those.
Okay.
But yes, there's been some big celebrity deaths. I'm not sure which one you want to start with. Do you want to start with the rapper, the two musicians in the girl band, or the film director? Which one you want to go with?
Let's start with film.
Start with the film director.
Yeah, let's start with film.
The last 2 weeks, sadly, the world lost Richard Donner.
Yes,
a very famous, especially for nerd movie people. Very famous film director. Biggest influence probably that he had would have to be the fact that he is the one who brought Superman to the big screen in the modern era.
Yep.
With the Christopher Reeve Superman, which he fully directed that one. He partially directed the second Superman, and then the studio took over and bastardized what he did, and then he went back in and redid it. In fact, that's one of the like 2 or 3 movies that kind of started the idea of the director's cut of films.
Yeah.
Between that and Blade Runner, they were really kind of the 2 movies that really popularized the idea that you could buy later a different version of the movie that was redone by it was done the way the director really wanted it, as opposed to the way the studio wanted the movie to be, as the studio thought would be marketable. Those are kind of like the 2 biggest examples. That, and also David Lynch's take on Dune, which his take on Dune was awful, and the studio's take on Dune was awful. It was just let's pray that Villanueva does a better job. At least he's trying to separate the book into more than one movie, which is completely necessary. And oh my god, I can't wait for that thing. But
David Lynch Dune the one that was the series that was on Sci-Fi?
No, that's not the one I made you watch. The series on Sci-Fi came out in the late 90s, early 2000s, late 90s.
Yeah.
And yeah, I made you watch that when we got it on DVD. No, the David Lynch one was out in the early 80s, and it was
okay.
Kyle MacLachlan was playing Paul Atreides. It was awful. It did have
far removed from Dune.
It had a young Patrick Stewart in it, which was nice, but Sting was the bad guy in it.
Yeah.
Basically. So that was that's kind of cool. And the Sci-Fi one, the Sci-Fi Channel miniseries, had Matt Keesler as the bad guy, which is like, who even knows who Matt Keesler is?
I don't fucking know who Matt Keesler is.
Exactly. He was in Scary Movie. That I can tell you. So
I don't know who he played.
I believe he played the version of Dewey. The version of the cop Dewey.
That's the guy who was the bad guy in Dune?
I think so. I have to look and be
sure.
That
does the usual suspects walk after the end of the film?
Yeah, I think that's him. But anyway, I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, tell me in the comments. But anyway, the key here with Richard Donner is that I
think that character is Deputy Doofy.
Yes, it is Deputy Doofy. The key here, though, with Richard Donner is that he truly ushered in the era of comic book superhero movies. Now, people can try to say that Tim Burton's Batman kind of kicked it off, but Tim Burton's Batman never gets made if the Superman character with the Richard Donner movies doesn't take off. And literally, the tagline for that film, it'll make you believe a man can fly. I believed the man could fly after that.
Oh, that's really a fantastic film. The very first Superman is very, very, very well done.
Well, I mean,
overall.
Yes, until you get to the point of him, going backwards in time and shit.
That was a cool concept at the time, though, man.
Really, it was.
You're looking at what year was that? 79, 80?
Yeah, I mean, anytime anybody wants to question comic book movies doing time travel, it's like, yeah, the first major comic book movie did time travel, so fuck you all. That's just kind of a trope. That's what happens.
Yeah.
That, and he made us believe that Margot Kidder was a romantic lead, which is, hey, good job, man. But it really did set the stage, and every Superman since then has really kind of copied off of that. Even Wonder Woman copied that. There's a scene in Wonder Woman that is a direct that has direct relation to a specific scene from that Superman movie. The bullet catching scene in Superman.
Yeah.
And she has a similar scene, but she's not trying to pretend that she's not powerful. She just is like, I'm Wonder Woman. Just suck it. Whereas he's like, I'm really just mild-mannered Clark Kent. Gosh, Lois, no. It's like, I'm Wonder Woman and fuck you all.
Yeah.
I got a glowy rope. Fuck you all.
A glowy rope.
And Captain Kirk's just standing there like, damn, this is an alien species I need to tap. That's my job. I'm Captain Kirk. I sleep with everything. Is that right? Did I get that right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, Kirk loves the green ones.
Yeah, it's like so wait, we're doing a DC Marvel connection, and he's going to sleep with She-Hulk. Okay,
he totally would.
I would watch that. Actually.
Kirk totally would.
Yeah, he totally.
So I'm just yeah, it takes me. Honestly, that's legit. Like I keep replaying it in my head because we keep talking about it. Now I'm playing back the fucking Clerks 2 J line. See that dude over there? Homeboy fucked the Martian once.
Yes. Anyway, so Richard Donner. Sorry, we keep straying. Richard Donner is definitely responsible for the entire start of the comic book movie craze, and it got the slow start with Superman, who was at that time the most marketable superhero. Period. And then you get Batman, and then the floodgates open up. But again, Batman does not happen, and the rest doesn't happen without Richard Donner's Superman movie. That has to happen. But on a personal level, Richard Donner made one of my favorite childhood movies. He was the director for this movie. It's a movie that has been reported. I've talked about it on here. I plagued my older siblings, my brothers, with watching this movie every single day for an entire summer. Once a day, at least, for an entire summer.
God.
I wore out the VHS tape that it was recorded on. So much to the point that I don't even remember what happened in the beginning of the movie because that part was too worn out. Because it was at the front end of the VHS tape.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember everything that happened, and I kind of do now because I've seen it since then. But for years, I didn't have a full memory of how the whole start happened. I kind of had flashes and pieces because that's all I got was individual little flashes and pieces because so much of the tape didn't work. I own it on DVD now, and I've since seen it on DVD. I've since seen it on TV. And funny enough, this movie came up last night in a conversation with this very short conversation with one of my younger sisters, who sent me a message saying that a new movie, Finding Ohana, which she said was available on Netflix. I think I've seen it on Netflix and Disney Plus. I may be wrong. It may just be on Netflix. Finding Ohana is a modern day Goonies, and of course Goonies is the movie that I'm talking about here, which
damn it, I thought you were going to make me guess. I was going to guess Mac and Me.
No, oh God. That was your favorite movie, I'm sure.
Oh, fuck that. That shit is a nightmare.
That just seems like a Mike movie. I love Mac and Me.
Oh, fuck you.
No, Goonies is, of course, my dad listening to this, who is one of the few regular listeners of the podcast. Thank you, Dad. And he didn't get, by the way, in the last one where we talked about my Ninja Turtle Halloween costume, he didn't get to the point where we were talking about the costume yet. And he has, because I asked him about it, I said, did you hear that? Did you hear us talking about the costume and Mike saying how great that was? And he's like, no, I didn't get there. I didn't get to that point yet. And I'm like, well, damn it. Mike was saying how great you did. He's like, what costume are you talking about? So I explained it to him. He's like, I have no memory of doing that. And I'm like, you did. I remember it. You did. It was during a few years where things weren't the best for him. So it's not surprising he doesn't remember it entirely. He was just scrambling to make things work.
I was going to say, yeah, it's like, oh God, that's, I mean, wonderful ingenuity, but I could just also see that here, take the fucking pillow and belt and shit. Like, he's doing it on a whim.
He was cussing up a storm doing it. I remember that for sure. But anyway, he remembers my obsession with the Goonies. And again, my brothers would remember my obsession with it. I love the movie so very much. It was, again, I watched it so many times. Interestingly enough, of course, there is a Superman reference in it because of Richard Donner. But I have a Goonies shirt that I've had for a couple of years now, and literally a week ago. This is why this is all kind of coming up as a coincidental thing. A week ago, my wife bought me another Goonies shirt. But my sister sent this to me last night, and it's funny that she would reference the movie Goonies and not. I'm sure she has no idea who Richard Donner is and has no idea that Richard Donner died because she's not a cinephile like I am. By the way, cinephile, that's somebody who really loves movies. That's not something bad, or maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe some people might think of that as a bad thing. But when you hear the word file, people think the bad word for it, or the bad connotation for it.
Oh, right.
It just means I really love movies.
Yeah.
And I don't love sins, although sins are okay. I love movies. It's CINE file, not SIN. Just be clear about this. There's some sins that I'm okay with. Of course, I don't believe they exist, but that's a whole other story. Anyway, moving on. But the fact that I've had 2 recent Goonies kind of references, and my wife knew that Richard Donner died, but I don't think she made the connection when she saw a Goonies shirt. She just saw a Goonies shirt and said, "Ooh, my husband would like this because he loves the Goonies. He's made me watch it once." And that's all that I've gotten her to watch it is once. But when my sister sent that to me, she was like, "Yeah, this new Finding Ohana is just like a modern day Goonies." I said, "Oh, okay," but without the misogyny and racism and fat shaming and abuse of special needs individuals, right? Her response was, "I guess." Like, oh, okay. You don't remember all those things, Goonies. And I just want to say, I still love the movie The Goonies for the time that it encapsulated.
Yeah.
But let's be honest and frank. There is huge amounts of misogyny in that movie. Huge amounts.
There is.
There is massive racism in that movie.
Yep.
There is a lot of fat shaming. Poor Chunk just does not get his name, Chunk. That's enough.
Do the
right
truffle
there.
shuffle.
Yes, do the truffle shuffle.
Yeah.
And then
there's a lot going on in that.
And then Sloth's condition is played for both scares and then laughs later. And Sloth is a special needs individual who has been mistreated by his family, locked up in a cage underground, basically, which is exactly what people used to do to the special needs members of their family so as not to disgrace their family in any way by their appearance or their attitude or their actions or any of that. And then so it's like, seriously, all of these awful things. Again, the thing to keep in mind is during the time period the movie was made, these are things that would have played for humor. We understand now that these are not appropriate ways to handle these things in movies. But the thing existed at the time period that it existed in. And we can understand now those things aren't right, but they are part of what is the movie. Right?
Yeah.
Right? Is that the right way to say it?
Yeah. No, it's understanding that. I think
and it doesn't stop me from loving the movie, but it does make me understand that if kids, I will explain that while these things are funny, they are still not necessarily good things to do. That's just the way of it.
Yeah.
But Richard Donner, great filmmaker, inspired a lot of other filmmakers. Was often in collaboration with Steven Spielberg, as he was with Goonies.
Mm-hmm.
Just a very influential person, and then a decent human being as well, regardless of the humor that he did at the time. Still a decent human being.
Well, I think a lot of the time with situations like that, you kind of have to look at the intent of the humor in itself, whether or not it is intentionally, I don't want to say necessarily intentionally exploitative, because it is exploitative. But it depends on like when you look at the heart of the film and everything that encapsulates it and what the story is actually about, those situations, that type of humor was made at a time that was not fully aware of the consideration of people that fit within those categories. And so for the sake of understanding, it's knowing that was not considered as I don't know how to say this properly, because I'm having trouble trying to articulate it, but basically that's not where their hearts were when they were making the film.
No, they weren't trying to be hurtful.
Trying to be hurtful. Yeah.
Yeah.
The hurt was not necessarily the intention.
No,
some people make that type of stuff in order to be hurtful.
Yeah.
Because being hurtful got a laugh, or they think that's the way that they think that being hurtful is supposed to be, that's how humor works. Those people are fucking assholes. Now, as far as what I honestly think that Seth Rogen, like, I'll bring it back to Seth Rogen. He fucking said it best, man. Humor is meant to be a commentary on that time period. It is not meant to survive. It is a temporary, humor is a temporary observation. It is not meant to stand the test of time. So something that was funny, quote unquote, due to the situation 40 years ago is not funny now because of the evolution of society and the awareness of that society.
Yeah.
I'm essentially paraphrasing him.
You're paraphrasing.
Yeah.
But that is the point. The way that comedy truly works is that it is a commentary on the time that it's happening in.
Yeah, and recognize that it's wrong. Recognize that it's wrong so that mistake is not made again.
And just to give you some more understanding of some of the things that he was involved in, The Omen. He directed The Omen.
Wait, the original Omen with Gregory Peck?
Yes.
That's Gregory Peck, right? Yeah. Cool.
Superman, The Toy, The Goonies, Lady Hawk. How about not only did he start the superhero genre, Lethal Weapon and Lethal Weapon 2.
That was Richard Donner?
3. Richard Donner.
Dude.
And apparently he liked working so much with Mel Gibson. So I don't know what that means exactly for his personality. maybe he's just such a nice dude he could deal with Mel Gibson. He also directed Maverick, Conspiracy Theory, and Lethal Weapon 4.
Wow. Oh, he directed Lethal Weapon 4 too?
Yes.
Honestly, I think 4 was my favorite. Jet Li, bro. Jet Li, Chris Rock. Dude, the back and forth between the back and forth between Chris Rock and Joe Pesci was magical.
It was, but I like the first one the best just because of it's kind of more wild and out there.
I get you.
It's funny because that also gives us him being involved in all of those things, gives us Shane Black, who directed Iron Man 3, who's gone on to direct he directed, I think, an Alien versus Predator movie. Or just a Predator movie. It was a recent Predator.
You know what sucks now? Like, looking at it in hindsight, I'm not sure that I'd be able to sit and watch the Lethal Weapon movies again. Especially there was a lot of racist bullshit that happened in the fourth one. That now, like, hindsight, I'm like, damn. Like,
no, there's a lot of
cultural commentary and humor. There was a lot of intentional humor that was based upon cultural insensitivity in that film. But it was also like a view on exploitation as well. So which way do you go? It's kind of like a sign of the times on that one.
Well, and actually, I think one of the things that Lethal Weapon that Danny Glover's character Murtaugh is dealing with some racial issues that he is feeling and working through with, because it's one of the subplots is, of course, Chinese immigration and gang involvement, Chinese gang involvement and whatnot.
Yeah.
And he's having to deal with his personal racial biases and seeing it through the lens of having been the target of racial bias throughout his life and career. And now he's on the other side of that. Because I mean, the second one, especially the second one, he deals with a lot of racial issues because they're dealing with South African, I think, drug lords that, and the main villain is a South African diplomat, so he has diplomatic immunity, so they basically can't mess with him. Played amazingly by Joss Ackland, who was you probably know him from the second Bill and Ted movie. He was Denomalo, the bad guy in the second Bill and Ted movie.
Oh,
amazing British actor. He was also in he also played a Russian diplomat in Red October. They had a lot of different movies, and he'd play a lot of different characters from different countries, but they were this was made during the height of apartheid in South Africa.
Yeah.
And so during that time, extreme racism in South Africa.
Yeah.
And they're speaking with an Afrikaans accent, which is a mixture of kind of Dutch and German. A little bit of almost a little British thrown in there too. It's a really weird accent. I've heard it once in real life spoken, and it confused me enough that I actually had to ask the person where the hell they were from, because I could not place the accent at all, period.
Wow.
And when he told me, I was like, okay, that makes total sense. He's like, why? I said, well, because I was hearing some British accent in there, but I was hearing some German accent in there too. He goes, were you hearing any Dutch? I'm like, I wouldn't know the difference between German and Dutch. And he's like, there's a difference. And yes, you're right. Those are all the accents that come together for the South African accent. I'm like, okay, that's freaking awesome.
Okay, so it seems
you have a really good ear. And it has to do with who colonized South Africa, and it was the British, the Germans, and the Dutch. And they all colonized in there. And so the accent kind of comes from within that. And there's a lot of words and phrases that are kind of amalgamations of the three languages, as does happen. I mean, you look here in the United States, words like avocado, which we want to think of as, okay, for instance, do you know, where does avocado come from? The word avocado.
I thought avocado was native, but it is native. That's what I thought.
There's some people who will try to say that it's Spanish because it's obviously something from Mexico. Because that's where avocados are from.
Who was there first?
From Mexico. Yeah, the Aztecs actually, and the language, by the way, is Nahuatl. That's the language that they spoke.
Nahuatl. Okay.
And avocado and chocolate are actually derivatives from Nahuatl. So anyway, so that's what you get with the accent. But in the Lethal Weapon 2, they were the main villains. Was these South African diplomat and these kind of drug lords and whatnot. They were paying people off in Krugerrands, which are gold coins from South Africa. They were calling Murtaugh a kafir, which is basically a slang term for anybody that has black skin in South Africa. And it's a nasty slang term. Very close to like the using of the N-word.
Yeah, I've never heard that terminology before. I don't think I've actually seen the first couple of Lethal Weapon movies, but it sounds like these.
So wait, you've not seen Lethal Weapon 1 where Gary Busey is the bad guy, and he puts a lighter under his arm and burns his arm and just sits there with no, and there's no special effect involved. Gary Busey really did that because he's fucking nuts.
Yeah, Gary Busey's batshit. I'm
kidding, but
but that's believable.
So you haven't seen the first one?
I saw the first one, I saw it on Fox on Sunday in the middle of the day when it was all censored and bullshit on network television, way back in 1992. Okay.
You need to go back and see the first one, okay? You really need to go see the first one.
Okay.
And then you need to, after watching the first one, you have to go rewatch, because I'm sure you've seen it before. You need to go rewatch the National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon, where Emilio Estevez is...
Loaded Weapon 1,
yeah. Emilio Estevez is doing the whole Mel Gibson part, and Samuel L. Jackson is in Samuel L. Jackson in a National Lampoon's movie is doing he's doing
Murtaugh.
The Murtaugh part.
Oh my god.
But do you remember this TV series Dharma and Greg?
Fucking forever ago, and I never watched it.
You never watched it?
Yeah.
Sad. I feel sorry for you.
I think I don't remember watching it anyway. It was one of those ones. My parents watched The Simpsons and Cheers, man.
Okay, so that's the only other way I know the actor. I can't think of other things that he's been in. But there's a general that's the bad guy in the Lethal Weapon 1, and Gary Busey's like his right-hand man dude, is his muscle. And I forget who they have playing the muscle in the no, I think it's Dennis Leary. I think Dennis Leary is the one that plays the muscle.
He plays the Gary Busey part?
Or is he? Actually, he's not. He's just another person in there.
Oh, okay.
He's a bad guy that gets killed, but with piranhas. But it's in a piranha tank that he has, and the guy who plays the general sticks his head in the piranha tank and pulls a piranha out of the piranha tank to show how much of a badass he is. It's William Shatner.
Oh my god. So why have I not seen this movie?
The thing is, you need to
see the first Lethal Weapon to get all the...
Weapon.
Oh my god!
Yes, so that the jokes all make sense.
So that they all land. Okay.
Yeah, so that they're all.
I'm sure I could find it streaming somewhere.
And then, I know. I remember now who the Gary Busey bad guy is. I totally remember
who.
And at one point, he's dressed in a Girl Scout uniform. To sell cookies, because the whole premise of the Loaded Weapon is they've put cocaine in they're shipping cocaine in Girl Scout cookies or the equivalent of Girl Scout cookies,
right?
It's Tim Curry.
Shit. That's what that meme is from.
Yes.
I've seen the meme where Tim Curry's dressed up as a Girl Scout.
Yes, that's from Loaded Weapon 1. Yes. You need.
Fuck, why have I not seen this? Okay, yeah,
You need to go watch both of them.
I think it's going to be a movie night tonight.
you have to, because they're so good. They're so good.
Okay.
But anyway,
this sounds like to me, if I may interject.
Yes.
This sounds like to me very much that the concentration of the Lethal Weapon movies in general has to do with. It's not necessarily. I mean, of course, it's. There's a lot of culturally insensitive humor that shows up, but the purpose was. It sounds like the purpose was essentially combating racism. Like it sounds like a lot. Like
actually, I think it was. I think it was
that are like that, right?
No, it was bridging. It was bridging. I think all of it was bridging gaps between our conceptions of things, our preconceptions of things, and true understanding of it. Because again,
that's cool.
You have Murtaugh, who's about to retire. He gets this guy that at first he doesn't even know is his partner. He's told he's got a partner, but when he's in the police station in the first one, he sees what looks like a guy dressed all ratty and bummy with a gun in the police station. So he screams out "gun" and tries to take the guy down, and it turns out that's his new partner because he's not dressed in a suit like he expects a cop to do. And so it's. I think it's cultural misconceptions, judging a book by its cover, and it also started the buddy cop genre of movies. Lethal Weapon is the first buddy cop movie in the modern era, and this started that entire genre of buddy cop. So any buddy cop thing that you see, whether it's a real buddy cop or a spoof of buddy cop, whatever, Lethal Weapon is the modern day genesis of that. He created basically an entire genre of movie. This is two genres that he basically kicked off. Richard Donner did.
I thought like Starsky and Hutch, I thought that like buddy cop movies started from like TV series in the 70s.
There were TV series of it, but this was the first real movie that shot off the newer version of this, the new concept of buddy cop movie, and set the formula of how it works in a movie.
Yeah.
And it also it basically jump started Mel Gibson's career in the United States, because at that point he didn't have a career in the US. He was just in a couple of Australian films about people that were searching for gas and had no water. That's basically all that he had been in. This jump started Mel Gibson's career. So without this, you don't have everything that Mel Gibson has done. So maybe we're not so happy with Richard Donner, but we are. Because he did literally start these two genres of film, and these are cemented things that there are tropes for these movies that exist over so many different movies that are followed. This is how you make a superhero movie. This is how you make a buddy cop movie. And this is what kind of Richard Donner has given us.
Okay, so no, that's actually a really serious observation to make. Like, being that this guy, I don't think enough people have given him legitimate credit
he's not a flashy director. He's not a director
but he's a groundbreaking
Oscar. He's not been up for Oscar contention, and he's groundbreaking in a different way. He's not groundbreaking in the way people try to talk about Scorsese being groundbreaking, which I'm sorry, if every movie you make is basically about some version of the mob, you're not groundbreaking. Okay? You're just sad that you were too short to get put in the mob. You didn't get made into a made guy. I'm sorry, Marty. Okay? Quit making movies about your obsession.
You and your grudges, my friend.
Oh, I cannot stand Scorsese. Horrible, horrible hack of a film director. Honestly.
Can you not skip? What's your opinion on Kubrick?
Kubrick was a complete dickhead.
Who
should have been jailed for everything that he did. And I'm sorry. He has one.
I didn't mean to set you off like this, but
he has one movie that's kind of okay, and that's Dr. Strangelove. But you need to understand the absurdity of it. If you don't know the background behind the filming of Dr. Strangelove, then it's not really that funny. But you need to understand the entire background. Like the fact that he insisted that the table in the war room had green felt carpeting on the table. The movie is in black and white.
Yeah.
you would have no fucking idea that it's green felt. You could use any other color to get the same gray look that you're getting, but he insisted it have to have green felt.
Why?
Because he's Stanley Kubrick and he's fucking dumb. I mean, he caused huge amounts of PTSD for Shelley Duvall, almost made her quit acting.
Yeah,
with his abuse on set. I mean,
with The Shining.
He actually physically damaged. Oh God, what's his name? Malcolm McDowell. He.
For Clockwork Orange.
He damaged his eye, scratched the cornea on his eye.
Oh, with that fucking thing.
I mean, that's like, sadly, that's like the second worst thing that happened to Malcolm McDowell's career. The single worst thing is he killed Captain Kirk, and everybody hates him now for doing so. But nerd boys have gone nuts over him. He said it was one of the worst things he ever did was be in Star Trek Generations. Admittedly, probably the worst Star Trek movie ever.
Hey, I liked Generations.
Okay, you can be wrong. That's okay. The thing is,
did you fucking see some of the other ones?
You know what? Actually, to be honest, almost all of
the only redeeming quality of fucking Nemesis was the fact that Data died at the end of it, and it created an emotional fucking. It created an emotional jarring situation.
Because there was another Data, but he didn't though, because there was another Data.
Actually, you're talking about. Oh man. Oh, dude, you haven't even seen Picard, have you? B4 never gets put together. Like, I mean, he uploaded his positronic net to B4, but. B4 gets like there's a whole fucking thing. Oh my god.
Okay.
I would be getting into spoiler territory. I'll tell you about this after the podcast so that we don't spoil it for other people.
We'll do it another time.
Yeah.
But now anyway. No, Kubrick, back to Kubrick, asshole. Complete asshole, terrible human being. I never would have done one of his movies. Overrated also. 2001 Space Odyssey, overrated. Completely overrated. Hell, Clockwork Orange, completely overrated and ruined the song Singing in the Rain for me. Asshole. Eyes Wide Shut. Thank you, but no. Not, it's like, ooh, this is supposed to be a really salacious movie. Not really. My imagination is like 30 times more salacious than that movie. Sorry, bye.
Well, you have to be able to get it through to actually like, seriously. Unless you want to see it, unless you want to, go search for it on 4chan or something.
Yeah, it's but anyway, point being, no, Kubrick, ugh. I can't say enough about how I dislike Kubrick. But Scorsese's up there as well. I mean, but then again, so is Francis Ford Coppola. He only directed one good thing, in my opinion, and that's Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is the definitive best Dracula ever. Fight me, and you're wrong. I
but then again,
entirely. I will also say, agree entirely. I will also say George Lucas only directed one good movie, and that would be
the first Star Wars.
No, American Graffiti. The first Star Wars was not successful because George Lucas directed it. The first Star Wars was successful because other people edited it and made something out of the complete mess that George Lucas had filmed. They edited something that worked. Oh. And then he was smart enough to hire a better director for Empire Strikes Back, which shows. Yeah. And then he couldn't get the director he wanted for Return of the Jedi because he'd pissed off the Directors Guild of America, and that director didn't want to lose his Directors Guild of America membership.
Oh, yeah.
So instead of us getting Steven Spielberg directing Return of the Jedi, which might have been interesting.
Fuck, that would have been great.
We get Richard Marquand directing Return of the Jedi. Who is Richard Marquand, do you ask? No fucking knows. Why? Because that's really all he's done is Return of the Jedi. George Lucas then went on to direct episodes 1, 2, and 3, and we saw what happened when he was given the director's chair.
Yeah.
Great producer, great story idea, bad director.
Yep.
Bad.
Yeah.
Especially when he's given a budget. Less budget, decent director. Budget, same thing with the guy who directed the movie, oh God, now I can't think. Equilibrium.
Oh, yeah.
Christian Bale movie.
Yeah.
Great movie. Sean Bean in it. Of course, Sean Bean dies early because that's what Sean Bean does.
Because that's what Sean Bean does, yeah.
Great movie. Taye Diggs, Angus McFadden. Great small kind of really weird movie, but a dystopian future thing, but it's small. in its scope.
And the idea of the gun kata is fucking badass.
It's very cool.
Great, well filmed, well put together, beautifully edited. Like, it's very well done.
And then what happens is, and that was on a very small budget, less than $10 million budget, which is a very small budget for films. Then what happens is they give him a huge budget, and we get the movie Ultraviolet.
Oh, that's what that guy ended up doing.
Yes.
Oh,
and
okay.
And he's another example of small budget. Hey, good job. Big budget. What the fuck is wrong with you? Going full circle back to Richard Donner here. Didn't matter what budget Richard Donner got. Richard Donner put together a good movie.
Yeah.
And in fact, the Lethal Weapon series is one of those series that is endearing. It is long lasting, and it is a cultural benchmark that people are going to remember, just like the Superman movies. And luckily, Richard Donner is not responsible for the debacle that is Superman 3 and Superman 4: The Quest for Peace.
No, and he's not even technically responsible for the second Superman film either.
Technically
to a degree,
no.
the one that was officially released, the Donner cut eventually came out. The Donner cut is fucking fantastic, by the way.
Yes,
I think it's amazing.
And keep in mind that Superman Returns, which was an awful movie by Bryan Singer, again, smaller budget, better, more budget. Bryan Singer does stupid crap. Plus, Bryan Singer is an abusive piece of shit.
Yeah,
so
he shouldn't keep going. Mm-mm.
But Superman Returns was a direct sequel to the Donner cut of Superman 2 and completely bypasses and forgets Superman 3 and Superman 4 for good reason, because those movies are awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
Those should just be stricken from the canon.
No, well, they are, but people should still watch them so that people know what not to do in a superhero movie. It's just like people should still watch Batman and Robin and realize this is what you don't do with Batman. You don't do this.
Damn it, Joel.
Bad.
Didn't he pass away? No, Schumacher's still alive, right?
He might have gone too somewhat recently. We'll look that up later. Anyway, we have to hit before we hit our break. We have to hit the last the other people. So I think we've said what we need to about Richard Donner. We said a lot about Richard Donner. But tell you what, we'll save the rapper for after the break. How's that? Because I know we'll have a little bit to talk about.
Well, do you want to? Well, you had a subject matter you wanted to talk about too in the second half, right?
Okay, so let's deal with Biz Markie now. So,
okay, name drop
again. Yes, again, the one with the rapper that was lost recently was the rapper Biz Markie.
Yeah.
What's funny about him is he's really only known one song.
He is only known for one song.
But
it's a great fucking song.
It is an amazing song. And what's amazing about it is the fact that he is purposely singing off key in the song, in the chorus of the song, badly singing off key. And it freaking works.
Yeah, and that was the point. And
song.
That's the thing is a lot of that, a lot of those, when you find somebody who can magically do that, that is rarer than somebody who is great at singing on key, or even just people that are generally okay. I equate, and I'm not sure that you'll necessarily agree with this, because one of the things about Biz Markie is when he sang, he was capable of doing a lot, but he intentionally did that on purpose because he's playing a character at that point, right?
Yes.
And the appeal of the character is legitimately that. I equate it similarly to how David Lee Roth sang in Van Halen. David Lee Roth didn't sing in Van Halen. David Lee Roth talked really well in Van Halen. He had this whole kind of like vaudeville type thing going on, which he actually still leans into now, where he was very expressive. That was where he was very expressive outside of the idea of a conventional singer. Biz Markie had that too. That was.
I just since you had to mention them.
Yeah,
I have to say my piece.
What?
First of all,
yeah,
some people love Van Halen, some people love Van Hagar. I am of the controversial opinion that Gary Cherone was the best vocalist to ever be involved with Van Halen, and I don't care what anybody else thinks. And the best thing to ever come out of Van Halen was Eddie's kid Wolfgang, who I am like totally obsessed with right now.
He is so good. Like, he's amazing.
Mammoth WVH is just like, that's my shit right now. So fucking good.
Oh, it's
such
fucking
pure
amazing.
rock.
Yeah, it's just straight up wonderful.
and no extra like, look at me, I'm Eddie's son, so I'm gonna do tricky things. Nope, it's just straightforward music. Sounds really cool. A couple of little tricks, like at the end of the Won't Back Down, the little string kind of slide that he does at the very end of it.
Yeah.
Which is just kind of cool little thing, but just for that moment, it's like, yeah, and the video for that rocks. But anyway, yeah. Screw the rest of Van Halen. Just thank you for your kid, man. But no, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying in that. I get what you're saying in that. And the thing is, what most people, what a lot of people who weren't fans, who don't remember or aren't old enough to remember when Biz Markie came out, was the fact that not only was that song big, but he was also really, really freaking good at beatboxing. Like, super good.
Biz Markie was the shit at beatboxing. He was one of the best beatboxers in the history of beatboxing. Like, legit. Like, and
that's part of why I think he was able to do some of the to nail that off-key singing part, is because,
dude, that cameo in Men in Black that he did, that's a great example.
Yeah, I mean, like, Will Smith is trying to be Will Smith and beatbox with him, and he's just like in a different realm.
Oh yeah, he was.
Than Will Smith.
Oh my god.
And it's just a simple, like, 10-15 seconds, but he just like owns it for that few moments.
Yeah.
And so I
what was that, the second one?
The second one, yeah. He's a postal worker at the post office that Kay works at. When Kay's,
oh god, anybody who wants to see that, like, go look that shit up on YouTube. Biz Markie and Men in Black 2.
Yes,
like, oh my gosh,
it's a great scene. But again, most people only know him for the one song. Was just, there are some songs that are just get the word right, James. Generationally a good song that just sticks forever.
Yeah.
And there's many of those from the 70s. Heck, James Gunn took and put all of them on the soundtracks for Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2. All those different songs from the 70s that just kind of stick out.
Yeah.
You know, all you need to hear is, if you like pina coladas, and everybody's like, yep, we know that.
Yep.
Ooga chaka, ooga ooga. Everybody knows that shit.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
That's kind of where Biz Markie is at. And I remember listening to that album, and I loved the entire album. Of course, back then it was on a cassette, so I had to listen to the whole damn thing. And I only remember one other song from the album. It was called The Dragon, and I think it had to do with body odor, but I'm not sure. But it may have also had to do with pot smoke. I was naive at that time. But it still was a good hip hop album for the time, and he was considered by many to be hip hop royalty. Even though he only had the one hit, there are times when one hit is enough to be such a big hit that's all that you need, is the one hit.
Yeah. No, he is a legend. He is a legend he is just as pivotal as Grandmaster Flash and Run DMC and fucking, like, there's so many of them that he sits along with. Like, he is one of the old school top tier hip hop legends, like, legit. And
so it is sad that he is no longer with, that he does not have any more to kind of give culturally.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be spending some time taking a look at his entire discography and see what he was involved in, and because I think he was doing a lot of writing, co-writing. He was still working, as far as I knew, when he passed. But yeah, I remembered hearing the news about what happened to him. He'd been in the hospital for close to a year, for like at least 6 months, 7 months. I remembered hearing about it near the end of 2020 that he had gone to the hospital. I think it was a diabetic coma or something like that did it. And eventually, earlier this month,
he's always been kind of a big guy.
Yeah, earlier this month, what happened was reports of his death, rumors of his death started spreading, and his manager had to come out on the internet and on Twitter and shit and just be like, "No, he's still alive, guys." Like, that's not cool.
Another one of those.
Yeah,
rumors come out, and then
it's like what happened to Tom Petty. Same thing. Like, it was reported that he died like 24 hours before he actually died. But
yeah, there was a female recently, an actress that happened to.
Oh man,
who?
Yeah.
But anyway,
I hate that preemptive shit. People just trying to jump the gun and get to reporting it before anybody else does, and then all of a sudden you fuck up the information. Like, don't do that.
Yeah. So again, sad to see Biz Markie go.
Yeah.
But at least we know that he got what we need at one point in life.
Yes,
You know
he
what I
did.
mean?
Well said.
But
I
anyway,
like that.
Thank you. Now, the final ones that I wanted to mention, you'll probably have more clarity than me on these. But
I'm not entirely. I read a little bit about an article on it. That's the most I've got. I'm not very.
So there's
familiar.
two of them though. There's
Yeah, this is crazy.
Keyboardist.
Okay, so here's. Yeah, do you want to introduce this, or would you like me to?
Well, I mean, the only way I'll say my version of it, which is like 15 years ago. No, almost 20 years ago. God, it's been that long. Almost 20 years ago, I got I was nice to my wife and got her tickets to go to a concert at local amphitheater that actually I live really close to now, but at the time was 5-10 minutes away from. Well, longer than that, about 15 minutes away from where I was living. And
it's a pretty
so
good distance, actually.
I got her tickets to go see a concert there. And the concert was for the band Poison. Now, I'm not a fan of 80s hair metal, glam metal, not really at all. But I was like, all right, I'll go see Poison with you, not a problem. And there were some other bands that were on there, Dawkin, and
that's cool.
And so I will say this: Poison is the headliner. They actually did a really good show. I would have gone to see a Poison show again back then, because I'm not a fan of their music, but they did a good show. A
lot of the time that'll be
well done show.
Yeah,
good. They hit everything perfect. The singer at the time, anyway. And I always get him confused with the singer from Motley Crue, because they're both two kind of goofy looking blonde dudes.
Bret Michaels is Poison.
Yeah, one's Bret Michaels, one's Vince Neil, and I like I said, I get them confused because they're just two goofy looking blonde haired dudes. I don't get the rest of the bands confused because like I know everybody in Motley Crue. The only other person I know in Poison is Cece, and Cece looks a lot different than the kind of living zombie that Mick Mars is. So I don't get that part confused. So if I see the band playing, I'm like, okay, I can't tell by the singer whether this is Motley Crue or Poison. Show me the guitarist. Okay, he looks like he should be dead. That is Motley Crue. Or if I see the bassist, like he uses way too much hair gel, and he's got to have some kind of a thing that he puts over his face to get that facial hair perfect. That is definitely Motley Crue as well, because that's Nikki Sixx.
Yeah.
Which, don't get me wrong, I love Nikki Sixx's other band that he is in, 6 a.m. They are fantastic. But I wonder how much of that is Nikki Sixx and how much of that is DJ Ashba and James Marshall. But anyway, moving on. Point being, on this bill as well, this Poison show was another band that my wife was super excited to go see. A band that I refer to as, okay, when I'm asked, you know this band? I say, isn't that the one where the video with the ugly looking woman playing piano in the sand somewhere, like on the beach?
I don't know what you're talking about. I've never seen this video.
And the band is, for anybody that when I say the band name, they may get the video back. Oh, okay. The band is the band Cinderella. And no, it is not a female lead singer. It is a dude singing, but it is a very, very, either a very pretty dude or a very ugly woman. You can decide for yourself which one it is.
Yes.
But
the 80s were a very
keep in mind.
I don't have the words for
the
it.
Aerosmith.
Skip it.
Keep in mind the Aerosmith song "Dude Looks Like a Lady" was about one of the singers from either Motley Crue or Poison. I don't even think that Steven Tyler knew which one it was, because it was just some long-haired, blonde looking chick, but that actually turned out to be a dude. So,
oh my god, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's about. I think it's about the one from Poison. I think, but I'm not sure. Could have been Motley Crue, because again, if you look at the album covers from back then, it's like, wow. You look at the Motley Crue album cover from back then, you can say, wow, those look like some pretty decent looking chicks, but they're not, because they're all actually dudes wearing way too much makeup.
I don't know. I've seen a few of those. I've seen a few of those records with what I do during the day, and it's still pretty questionable, man. I mean, they don't look like Twisted Sister or anything, but like,
well, at least Twisted Sister, the makeup was just like was just like,
they put it on their
overly
sleeve.
done.
They were just like, we are ugly as shit, and we're just gonna fucking clown face paint
Yeah,
ourselves.
I don't think Dee Snider was ever trying to look hot.
Yeah. I mean, all these
during-
guys were based on the New York Dolls, but Twisted Sister took it another direction. It was great.
Yeah. Twisted Sister was like, okay, Dee's like, I'm gigantic and huge, and like my guitarists look like they should be weightlifters. So we're just gonna overdo this because there's no way we can try to look pretty. We're just gonna
God,
look.
that's so weird.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
I can't. The problem. It's weird because I'm trying to tread lightly here because I'm not trying to be inconsiderate. But the culture at that time was kind of inconsiderate, especially to, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Let's be
the dudes. It's the dudes in the makeup thing. There's a difference between dudes in makeup doing the glam thing and what it was almost referencing, but not. I'm not sure.
No, the glam thing was almost referencing, which is what you're trying to try. I think you're trying to shy away from talking about.
What was you cut out? You cut out. What was it? What was it again?
The glam look was basically a riff off drag queens, which I think is what you're trying
and I'm
to,
trying to
and drag queen is still an appropriate phrase to use. It is a
drag is a
and that in itself culture.
That in itself is a specific thing. It's a specific culture.
And yes, the glam culture was a riff off of it. And the glam culture originally started in New York, but really hit its peak in LA. But that's again subject for a whole nother time. Anyway, the band I'm talking about that was on the Poison bill, the band that has this weird video, is the band Cinderella.
Okay.
A week ago, you got word that one member of Cinderella, I believe at that time it was the guitarist, right? Was it the guitarist first?
Let me take a look. Okay, so this happened like just a couple days ago. I think it was back on
the first one. I think the first one that died was the guitarist Jeff LaBar.
July 14th. The lead guitarist Jeff LaBar. Yes.
So he dies.
So Jeff LaBar, passed away. Jeff LaBar passed away on July 14th. Of this year, 2021.
Yes.
He's 58 years old. He was the lead guitarist for Cinderella. And while they were mourning that, they had just gotten the news, they were just trying to process that information.
Yeah.
Their keyboardist on the same exact day, is around 62 years old, died after a battle with lung cancer.
And he was Gary Corbett was his name.
Gary Corbett.
He'd also toured with Kiss, and he actually wrote Cyndi Lauper's She Bop, apparently.
He co-wrote it. Yeah, he co-wrote She Bop. So this guy's a hit, a number one hit songwriter.
Which by the way, I just want people to understand. Go back and listen to the song She Bop again. Guess what that song is about, people?
Yep.
If you don't know what that song is about, I'm going to tell you what that song is about. It's about a beautiful thing. Female masturbation. Go for it.
It's about masturbation all over. Everybody. It's about general, I bop, you bop, they bop.
Masturbation is a good thing. It's a helpful thing.
It is.
It's a natural, normal thing, to quote Jim's dad. Anyway, but no,
we can't endorse any products, but we sure as hell can endorse masturbation.
Hell yes, we can. Masturbation is good.
So
go do it. And go help someone else with it, as long as you're agreeing to help someone else with it.
Yes.
As long as it's a mutual thing.
As long as everybody's,
Remember, sex is like Chinese food. It's not over till you both get your cookies.
Not only that, you both got to agree to having it.
Yes. Anyway, moving on.
But yeah, so their lead guitarist passes away on the 14th of July, and while they're dealing with that, they just got that news. Their keyboardist does too.
Yeah, this is just crazy. And
two dudes from the same band die in the same day, completely apart from each other.
Yeah, not involved in a plane crash.
That's exactly it. Like, this isn't like this isn't like a freak accident. This is literally two natural deaths that happen completely far apart from each other.
Yeah, and literally, normally when that happens, there has to be a plane crash. Bus crash typically only kill one band member. I know, that's a bit rough. That's a bit rough, isn't it? Sorry.
It's fine.
It's bad. I know, it's terrible humor. You shouldn't be laughing for that.
No, hey, look, dark humor is okay. As long as laughing at the darkness of it. It's not like we're enjoying the fact that it happened.
No, it's a horrible thing that it happened. We lost
concept in general, yeah.
But normally,
yeah,
it takes
that's a
something like
rare
plane crash.
That's a rare occurrence.
For two band members at once, yeah, plane crash has to happen.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it just means that the likelihood for me is that I never have to go to a Cinderella concert again, and I'm okay with that.
Oh,
But
no.
it also brought up another conversation, and that's, I mentioned to my wife that, yeah, I mean, it is sad. It's always terrible when band members are lost, but at the same time, if Cinderella did have a concert again, you still have the singer, and the singer is what is really the draw to Cinderella. It's not necessarily the guitarist or something else. It's like, again, to use the reference of the band I did just bring out for reference. I love Kirk Hammett very much, but if Kirk Hammett was no longer able to play or something happened to him and they brought in another guitarist, I would still go see Metallica. I mean, we've been through multiple bassists for whatever various reasons. I'm still
okay. He's not the first guitarist either. So
no, he's not. He's not. He's the better one, but he's not the first one. And again, if even if Lars isn't there anymore, maybe the drums will sound better. I don't know. I'm just saying I would still go see Metallica. But if there's no James Hetfield to sing, James doesn't even have to play guitar. He just has to sing. But if James Hetfield isn't there singing, I really don't want to go see Metallica again.
No, and I've heard there was a time when Lars couldn't make a gig. I think Metallica ended up pulling a bunch of different drummers because it was like a 2-hour set. But what they did was it was easier for them to pull multiple drummers and get flown out, by the way, because they're rich as shit.
Yeah.
To get multiple drummers to play the same set so they could split the set over multiple drummers and make sure they could all learn everything. And they did a show with, I know at least 2 drummers that were on that gig, and it was Dave Lombardo from Slayer and Joey Jordison from Slipknot were on that same
also
show.
Makes sense. Those are 2 guys that would definitely be able to fit into that mold very easily.
And the band clunked through the set a little bit because Lars isn't the foundation for the drums. He's not the foundation for the rhythm. It's actually James. Yeah, James. Lars follows James on guitar as his metronome. James is his metronome, and that's how they hold. But what the best part about that was the fact, like, when I'm listening to it, I'm listening to the band play with a tighter drummer than they've ever played with before, and missing timing because the push and pull that Lars brings to that band wasn't there, and it sounded drastically different from any other time that they had done a show. It really kind of put things into perspective on how they play in a very non-traditional fashion, and it just happens to work.
But anyway,
we're not talking about them right now.
True. To the point, sad to see the members of Cinderella go. Sad that Cinderella as a band has to deal with 2 members dying in the same day while they're still trying to figure out, one dying, trying to figure out how they're going to deal with that, and then the other one dead as well. That's awful.
That is an incredible tragedy. Tragedy. Holy smokes! What's wrong with you?
We're both having trouble talking today.
Yeah.
It must be the lack of, I don't know, something. Anyway, point being, these are these are celebrity deaths that do bring effect to us because Cinderella was a big band of the hair metal scene. It is. And the thing is, there are songs by Cinderella that you don't know that you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know what you got till it's gone. Gypsy Road. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that was Cinderella.
Yeah, that's Cinderella.
I'm not familiar with their repertoire, but I'm quite sure that I remember some songs, Exactly. There are songs that when you hear them, you'll be like, that will be your exact response. Oh, I didn't know that was Cinderella, but that is a quintessential 80s glam metal, hair metal music song. It's part of this repertoire. You would know that. And that's the thing is that they do have a stamp on the music of our time. But that's an entirely different, when you think about it, that's an entirely different consideration, because Cinderella was they worked. They were a band that had some hits, but they're not, I wouldn't necessarily consider Cinderella royalty, rock royalty. No. Those guys aren't showing up in the Hall of Fame, but Biz Markie will be in the fucking Hall of Fame at some point.
Oh yeah, Biz Markie will be.
To be relatively comparative, wow.
Cinderella was one thing in a crowd. Biz Markie was above the crowd.
Yes, very much so.
But anyway, we're going to take a really late break here, and when we come back, I have an issue I would like to talk about. It's something that we've talked about before.
Okay.
Because guess what, everybody? Guess what?
What?
You got your freedom. and you screwed it up.
Oh boy.
And now you're getting your freedom taken away again, and that's what we're going to talk about.
Is that where we're going? Okay.
That's where we're going. We got to go there. We'll be back in just a moment.
All right.
Hey friends, this is Mike from the Xennial Chronicles reminding you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Xenchron, spelled Xenchron, to keep up to date on all things TXC. And please check out our official website, theXennialChronicles.com, or if that's too much to type, Xenchron.com. Thanks again for listening, and now, back to the show.
And we are back.
All right.
All right, everybody. At the advice of my legal team, I am going to put forth this disclaimer, okay? And let me preface this disclaimer a little bit.
Okay.
Here's the thing.
I like where this is going.
I'm a person who believes when it comes to especially when it comes to like raising children, things like this. This is a little bit off topic, but I'll bring it in. Trust me. It's better to teach things like self-regulation and self-awareness and self-responsibility. Okay, so I'm not a big firm. I'm not a believer in like corporal punishment for kids. I don't believe in spanking. I don't think that works. At a very young age, maybe a small smack might make some difference because they're like, like smacking their hands or something when they're like 2 or something, that because they don't understand anything at that point. But once they start to understand, you can actually talk to them and they know what you're saying. Physical punishment doesn't work. You need to be able to talk things through and make people understand things. So I am very famous for when somebody does something wrong, they make a mistake, they disappoint me in some way, shape, or form. I'm famous for giving lectures. Anybody listening to this knows I like to lecture. I like to talk. Okay? So what's about to happen here is a lecture to anybody listening and to the nation at large. Even though they're not listening, still, I feel the need to give a lecture out. If you're one of those people who've had to sit through one of my lectures before, or if you're somebody that's never had to sit through one of my lectures and just don't want to hear about this because we will be touching on subject matter that maybe you don't want to. Hey, you heard the first part of the podcast today. You listened to that part of it. You heard about the celebrity deaths and what we felt about those. If you don't feel like listening to this, you can shut it off now. I'm going to give you that opportunity. So, hey, everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening and goodbye. Now,
Jesus.
For everybody that's still listening.
How dismissive.
Damn straight. For everybody that's still listening, the true fans, the people that want to know what I really
God,
feel.
James.
Damn straight, I'm saying it that way.
James.
What?
Stop it.
No.
Look, here's the deal.
Anyway.
Like, if I may interject, this is a section that is getting a bit more on the lectured, very serious portion of the show. We understand that some people may not enjoy that, and so we're prefacing this with this. This is going to get serious. This is going to get lecturing, and we just want to make sure everybody knows that, And
I'm going to try to keep as much of a light tone about it as possible, a light scolding tone.
Okay.
I'm not going to be. I'm going to call people idiots, but how many times have I called myself an idiot, or you, or you? Heck, the other day, me and your wife were talking about you being an idiot. So there was that.
No, quiet you.
That was. Oh no, it was really funny. It was actually really funny. Did she tell you about it?
No.
Or did she show you?
No, she didn't. So now
great.
I'm going to have to ask her.
No,
when we get done with this, James. Thank you.
I'm going to tell you right now.
Oh, you dick.
I was telling her about if people call and because I've used her as a reference for work. For me searching for work, me trying to get a job, use her as a reference. And I told her, so if anybody calls, you can tell them that I have extreme patience working with very, very difficult people. Difficult and exacting people. Let's see if I can find the exact. Remember to highlight how patient I am with difficult perfectionist type people that mean well, but can be a bit trying sometimes. Did you get all that?
Fuck both of you guys.
What?
What do you mean, what?
What?
You know exactly what I mean, and I know what
you
mean.
Hold on. To your wife's credit, she responded back, "Are you referring to me or Mike or yes?" But to your wife's credit, she didn't just throw you under the bus.
She did.
She was like,
she jumped under it with me.
Are you saying it's me? Are you saying it's him? Or are you saying it's both of us? And so my answer was, I figured it was obvious.
Well, shit, I rescind my statement then. And so
And then
fuck just you.
And then she says, well, I'll add on to that. She says, haha, good non-answer. And then my response is, but really? So, Mike.
Yes.
She did
Again,
respond.
I rescind my previous statement. Fuck just you.
She did respond back with the ha, but you're laughing, so that's okay.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
that
yeah,
was-
absolutely.
And so we
She knows,
you know,
man.
And the thing is, again, I will be chastising, but I'm not going to be like uber mean. I'm just going to be the as much jokey chastising as possible.
Completely
so let's get to
understood.
Let's get to the topic here. And
Okay,
the topic is, of course, back in the end of June, right?
Yeah.
Restrictions started being released as far as where people could go in public without having to wear masks
Mhm.
as long as they were fully vaccinated.
Yeah.
And of course, that meant that everybody suddenly started going everywhere that
Oh,
they
yeah.
possibly could.
Pandemic's over.
without
Okay, bye.
masks.
Cool. Let's go do stupid shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you can't ask somebody if they're vaccinated. Although
Yeah.
I did have a job application recently ask me, which is technically illegal, but whatever.
I think it's kind of wishy-washy because you can require proof of vaccination for multiple things. Hell, look what was happening with the Foo Fighters concerts and stuff. They were requiring proof of vaccination at every show that they were playing.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, by the way, unfortunately, that proof of vaccination, because of the way that things have been, that proof of vaccination, unfortunately, has is not as solid as it may prove itself to be. Now, I'm not trying to negate anything because what you're getting to right now.
Are you talking about Delta variant?
No, I'm not talking about. I don't know what the variant is, but they just had to make an announcement literally yesterday. They had to cancel a show that was coming up because because one of their crew has the virus.
Okay,
They've tested positive, which means that it's a potential that it could be getting into their crew, and they may be canceling some dates, and
Okay,
date cancellations are already starting.
That date cancellations are starting, and so for all the people that are that went out this last week and paid out the ass for the 40th anniversary Metallica show that Metallica was going to do, a 2-night show at down in Oakland, wherever that arena is, for everybody that worked their ass off to try to get those tickets.
Yeah.
My wife asked me about that. I'm like, no, they'll probably release that as a DVD anyway, and I'll just pick that up like I did for the S&M 2, because there's no way in hell I'm going to try to fight through all that.
Yeah.
That will probably end up getting canceled too. But here's the thing. What happened is,
Oh, I thought it did. I thought something happened. I'm like, no fucking way. That's like 4 months away or 3 months away.
Yeah, and it still may get canceled because what
That's very
happened
possible.
was everybody went out in public, stopped wearing their stuff. Believe me, I know. I get looks in stores now because I'm still wearing my mask. Everywhere I go, I have people staring at me like I'm an idiot because I'm still wearing my mask. Keep in mind, I have had one of my 2 vaccinations. I have not had my second one yet. But
Yeah.
even after I have my second one, I will still be wearing my mask in public for the foreseeable future.
Oh, they're recommending it. Yeah.
There's reasons why, and I'll get into those in a minute. But here's what happened. Friends. What happened was the end of June, going into July 4th. Freedom, independence. We're going to celebrate this. We're free again. We're not in prison anymore, because wearing a mask is prison. That's the equivalent of being in prison. Being confined to your home and not being able to leave and go wherever you want to 30 times a day, that's prison.
Yeah.
I would love for these people to actually be in a real prison and see what the real thing is like, as opposed to just having to be at home all the time. I grew up living somewhere where the closest grocery store was like 15 miles away, and there was no way in hell your parents were getting in the car to drive there for anything. Whatever food you had in the house, you had to eat it, whether you liked it or not, because nobody was going anywhere. You went shopping once a damn month. The rest of the time, you just sat at home. You didn't go anywhere because you didn't live close enough to anything to freaking go anywhere. That's to me, that's not prison. That's my teenage years. Okay. So all of this craziness that people had over the last year because they weren't able to go to all the places they want to and just run amok like they wanted to. And suddenly freedom is here. Let's go everywhere with our kids, because of course that coincided with school being out. So you have kids everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
that can't be vaccinated because the vaccines aren't approved for kids under the age of 12. But guess what they can do, people? They can carry the viruses between other people.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get to that in a minute. But this has happened. Everybody going nuts, going everywhere. And what do you end up having? You end up having surges again of people getting COVID and getting not just the original COVID, but the Delta variant, which is the new variant of it. Because guess what? Viruses evolve. And when they do, the old medication doesn't necessarily always work the same. The old vaccines don't always work the same. They may still. But here's the thing. People are still dying from COVID. And interestingly enough, the people that are still dying are the people that are not vaccinated. Because the vaccine helps you to not die as easily. It does not stop you from getting COVID. We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
But let's be completely clear. It does not stop you from getting COVID. It does not stop you from carrying COVID. It does not stop you from spreading COVID. All it does is help you not die from COVID because it prepares your body for it to be there so your body can fight it off. This does not mean that, I'm vaccinated so I won't get COVID anymore. That's not what it means.
Right.
And the thing is, this is again the perfect example of how selfish this country is population-wise as a whole. Is they're not worried about I could carry this and give it to somebody else. They're worried about, my personal freedom was infringed for all this time. Now I need my personal freedom back. There are school districts that are fighting to not have their kids in high school have to wear masks because, they should all be vaccinated. Great. Even if they are, they can still carry it and pass it around. You don't understand that not enough people have been vaccinated yet because there's still too many people afraid to get vaccinated, still too many people worried about it, still too many people that haven't had the opportunity to go and do it. People whose health aren't where it can be to do it. And then you have the kids who are under 12 who, as they grow, may not have had the opportunity to vaccinate yet. Maybe you have people with developmental disabilities who are unable to get vaccinated because of their specific disability and problems resultant from that. Mm-hmm. So there are still so many different variables. You're still spreading this around. But no, you were given a short leash, very short. Well, anybody that's fully vaccinated can go without a mask, and you just ran with it. You took off. You're a giant ass Rottweiler who pulled down the 120-pound gymnast who was taking you for a walk, and you're just dragging that gymnast along.
I would, man, this was something that I specifically predicted. Like, I knew as soon as vaccinated people can go maskless. Okay, so what's going to happen is most people are going to go maskless, and they're going to. Here's the problem that I have with this idea of personal information. Okay, the issue with personal medical issues are ones that are exclusive to the individual.
Yes,
vaccinated or not vaccinated is not exclusive to the individual. This is a public problem. And I think that
there's a public health problem.
This is a public health issue. The difference between public health and individual health, this is not whether or not you're vaccinated. I know that I'm kind of moving on to another subject, but this is the problem.
No, you're not. You're not moving on to different.
This is a part
of the subject.
Yeah, a lot of people are claiming that they are vaccinated when they are not, or what they're doing is they're just stating you can't get this personal medical information. Motherfucker,
exactly.
It's not personal. This is like fucking polio. Okay.
This isn't like me talking about the fact that I'm diabetic and I have high blood pressure and I have high cholesterol. Although technically on my last set of tests I had none of those things.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying it's not about which medications I'm taking for which of those things. That's not what this is about. This is about a public health crisis and your response to the public health crisis, just like polio, just like measles, mumps, and rubella, the shots that are given for those.
That are mandatory for children to go to fucking school, by the way. They are mandated for children.
No, you can opt out of them. Being a parent, I can tell you can opt out of these things. But
that's interesting because from what I've looked up, the only way that you can opt out of them is if it's proven that your kid has an allergic reaction to those vaccines.
No, for religious purposes, you can opt out of them.
Fucking
for religious protections in there. Yes. I can tell you that from personal experience. You can opt out of those things, which is why we have the anti-vaxxer movement that we have, and we have seen resurgence of measles in the United States.
We saw an outbreak of measles that happened up in the northwestern states, I think.
That's because people are not using the vaccines to stop these things from becoming as virulent as they get and spreading in the way that they do. And again,
that's right. It was localized to a specific region, and then that region ended up getting a measles outbreak, if I remember correctly. It was like 3 or 4 years ago, wasn't it? Something like that. Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
This is the thing. Again, what the vaccines do is it doesn't stop you from getting these things. It stops these things from doing the damage to your body because it gets your body prepared for these viruses to come at you.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody that has been infected with COVID that has been vaccinated so far by all the news reports. Now, I'm not going to say that there isn't something we're not being told, because it's always a possibility, but by all the news reports that I have seen, everybody that has tested positive for COVID after getting the vaccines has lived and has had a fairly mild case of COVID. They still tested positive.
In all technicality, there have been some. I want to, in the name of being fully transparent,
there are some
deaths and some hospitalizations have happened. But the percentage rate of those that are fully vaccinated or even half vaccinated that have died from the virus is so ridiculously low. And I'd mean like ridiculously 0.001% or some shit, like a very, 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 very small amount versus the ones that have gotten sick versus the ones that have died from the virus that were not vaccinated. Like we have so much of this data. Now,
a nurse that refused to vaccinate, openly refused to vaccinate, and of course got COVID and died.
She just died from the virus. There's actually there was a former coworker of mine, who was in his early 30s, and this is actually something that's very important. We should mention and move to, because this is why the problem here that we're looking at is the way that viruses work. They evolve. They become resistant to older vaccines, not because they are targeting those that are vaccinated or because they get used to the vaccinated body. What's happening is that the virus continues to move and mutate, and as it moves from host to host, the virus mutates. It continues. The problem is it's not targeted against the vaccine, but the thing is those vaccines can potentially become less and less effective. But the reason why it is because the virus is continuing to spread and continue to transfer. It doesn't have to do with the vaccine. The vaccine itself still drastically reduces the risks from the virus.
But the more that the virus is spreading, and the way it's the simple way that evolution works, and especially when you talk about what happens is in evolution, these stronger, more adaptable, more able to stay alive versions have more chance to reproduce more. So that's why you'll see if you look at Darwin stuff, and he would go to the various islands and see these different birds that were all the same species, but on the different islands, they had adapted in different ways to deal with the different food sources that were on these different islands.
Yeah.
And what would happen is basically one that had a slightly longer beak than another would survive longer, have more offspring, and pass down the genetic trait of the longer beak, and the beak would get longer and longer until it was
evolution.
The perfect tool. That's how evolution works. Same things with the viruses. It just happens viruses replicate so much quicker, so you're dealing with a much faster pace of this. The viruses that survive in the body of a host that has the vaccine, the body's fighting off the virus and it's killed the majority of the virus, but maybe a little tiny bit that's left. That little tiny bit that may be left that's not enough to infect the host and do damage to the host may be a stronger, different variant of it because it has evolved a little bit. And now that won't be necessarily through one host, but over multiple hosts that gets passed as it's passed between people who are not wearing freaking masks. It will get stronger and stronger and stronger until you find a different variant that's not necessarily affected as badly by the vaccine. Or by the host that has the vaccine.
Yes, I agree. But can I, I know we're kind of in the middle of this conversation right now, but I do want to make a clarifying statement having to do with this subject. We should have put it in the beginning. I might even put it in the beginning before we start this off, just because, the proper disclaimer. Neither James and I are doctors. We are not medical professionals.
I mean, define medical professional.
As far as neither one of our lives or our professions at this point in time, I will state, are deeply rooted in hefty, deep medical research. You have more experience than I do with this looking at it. However, when it comes down to virology, which is what this subject is about, neither one of us are particularly experts in the subject.
No.
But in order to as an additive to this disclaimer, like, we want to make sure that we are talking about a medical subject, and neither one of us are full professionals in virology. So
yes,
I want to make sure
not
that
listen to us as doctors, listen to us as normal people having a conversation.
However,
we are not doctors.
However, I will say this. The conversation has been around this for the last year and a half, and there is a lot of information that is readily available for anybody to take a look at. And I'm not talking about relative interpretation of public knowledge. We're talking about this as public knowledge where the information is there. And some people may get their information from different sources, but when you look at the pen and paper, black and white information as it is readily available to the public, this is a lot of this, like, points to this direction. So what we are talking about is we are noticing patterns, and we are also being informed of these patterns by medical professionals that are on the news, right?
Yes.
Like, these are news reports that are coming out.
And not just on the news, but going to actual websites like the CDC website and finding out about it, which the CDC site is a credible site when it comes to information on virology. It really is a credible site. I mean, it is the Center for Disease Control. That is their frickin' job.
Yeah, exactly. Now, that being said, both James and I, of course, to some degree, because this happens to everyone, that are all of us that are looking at this information, there is some level of perception, and there is some level of understanding what has been happening, and this is this conversation is a combination of two major things. One, of the reports that are actually coming out, and two, of our physical perceptions of what we see out on the street when we are out and about publicly. So
yes,
we're looking at these, and we are making observations, and sharing these observations based on patterns that we ourselves are seeing, as well as looking at the medical information that is readily available. I just want to make sure that we are understood as two people that are making our observations about this. We are not saying that we're not stating that we're professionals. We are not stating that we are that we are trying to coerce anyone to make major life decisions based upon what we observe. We are just stating what we're observing, and we're noticing patterns. So, like, there's no way to just fully, like, I personally don't want that. I don't want to sit here and tell people what they should and should not be doing. I don't feel that I personally have the I'm not that kind of a person. I'm not a leader in that respect. You know what I mean? I am not in a position to be a public leader. I am not a public leader myself. I am just making James. I'm not trying to speak for you, sir, but me for myself, my opinion of how this is going is just my observation of what's going on. And I think it's fair to be able to make those observations. This is the process of making a decision for yourself, and we're sharing our observations.
And I mean, from my standpoint of things, I'm a parent, so I'm used to telling people what to do, and I'm also myself, so I'm used to telling people what to do because I just do that. I am the one who If there is a void or vacuum in leadership, I will do my best to fill it as soon as humanly possible. And it's kind of interesting. That is definitely one of the major differences between you and I as people. You are a person that kind of worries about your thing and will wants to be a part of the community and group, but you're not the overly confrontational person, and I'm the one who's almost always looking for the fight. So that's just kind of who I am. And I'm very easily spurred on to the fight at various points in time, much to my wife's chagrin a lot of the time. And so I will go out on the limb as much to say that I won't tell people to get. Actually, I will tell people. I will tell people that it is smarter to get vaccinated. I will tell people that I think you're stupid for not getting vaccinated. I was probably stupid for waiting as long as I did. And I'm not saying to go out and do it tomorrow. Go when the time is right and appropriate for you to do it. But you need to get vaccinated at some point. And until you do get vaccinated, you need to have a more global understanding of how your actions don't just affect you. Because this is the argument, the other side of the argument that I'm hearing, and I'm hearing especially from a group of like a parent group with regards to a high school that my child attends. And this is where there's a little bit different information that I'm getting from my personal experience than you would be getting, sir. Mm-hmm. And this is direct. It's a high school in a very small town, and the majority of the parents are thinking that masks are stupid. If people don't get their teenagers vaccinated, well, that's their problem. They can deal with whatever problems come from it. We'll get our kids vaccinated, and we don't think they should have masks because they don't get to have the normal social cues with masks. They don't get to have the normal high school experience. Blah 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 blah. All of that with the masks. It's just it's taking away their freedoms. And what it comes down to is it's a selfish thought frame. It's a thought frame where the only thing they're thinking of is their perception of what the experience is, their own personal view. They are not having a global and community thought about what's going on and about how their actions can be harmful to everybody else. So it's like, okay, so we shouldn't have to wear seatbelts because the only person that harms is us, right? No, there's other reasons outside of the harm to us why we wear seatbelts. Right. There are so many other analogies that you could bring into it that actually do work as proper situations that work as analogies, not just trying to do absurd arguments when it comes to it. I don't remember the logical fallacy involved in that, the specific one, but is it straw man arguments? Anyway, there are actual analogies that you can make to other laws that have a global effect. Mm-hmm. As opposed to speed limit law would be another example. Well, I can handle driving the car at this speed. If they can't handle it, that's their problem. Great, but what about what damage you might do by driving at that speed? What damage you might do to other people? Yeah, and that's the thing is there's no thought of what the fact that maybe their kid doesn't die from COVID, but their kid could carry it and pass it to somebody else. And you can't be guaranteed that everybody is vaccinated until you're guaranteed that everybody is vaccinated. You can't know until everybody has been vaccinated and the vaccine has proved okay for even all the different variants that have come out. But instead, the mind frame is just like the mind frame was even a year ago when people were fighting against the mask mandates and the school shutdowns. So I've looked back. I mean, I've had you have Facebook remind you what you were talking about a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever, on that, on the day. And people were arguing about this time last year. People were arguing about, is the school going to start in the fall? What's going to happen with this? What's going to happen with that? We can't go anywhere. We have to wear masks everywhere. All these different, how the restrictions were on them. It's the same thing over and over again. You don't learn that we need to take these precautions because we're still not out ahead of this. You got a little glimmer of freedom, just that little bit. And that's the thing is, you get that little bit of freedom and you ramp it with. You know what?
Okay, I take there's a part of me that takes slight offense to this.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Not to you. The terminology that is being used as freedom. I don't think that this is a freedom thing. This is not a freedom problem. And using the terminology freedom is feeding into the narrative that being safe or being considerate of other people is some kind of infringement upon the rights of an inconsiderate individual, and I don't think that's what this is. I don't know if it's just that I don't like the terminology.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you, and I agree. I don't like the terminology, but this is the terminology that I am seeing being used. They are using the words freedom.
I understand.
They have lost their freedom, and you're right. They have a misunderstanding of what freedom really is.
Yeah,
and the fact that there is a cost associated with any kind of freedom. They think of freedom as just being able to do whatever, whenever, with no consequence involved.
Yeah, that's not what freedom is.
No,
freedom includes consequences and responsibility, but that is not the problem. Here is that if you truly lose freedom, why don't you take a look at American history to understand what loss of freedom is? Why don't you take a look at the fact that
you can't look at American history because we're not allowed to teach that in schools. Nice try, sir.
Counterpoint. Well said.
Yes.
Well said. But to be completely honest, like, you need to take a look at and I'm talking like, yeah, this is gonna. The reason why
look at countries where you literally cannot make a drawing of a specific deity in certain countries.
Without
no images can be made. Not just threat of death. You're gonna die if you're in that country and you do that. You're gonna die. It's just that simple. It's that simple, that easy. Nobody makes that drawing. One person in a different country, in one of those, not in a country by that theocracy, made a drawing of that deity, and people went to kill that person.
Yeah,
and I believe succeeded.
Yeah.
Because you don't make a drawing of that deity.
You want to here's the thing. You want to
that's a little bit more loss of freedom.
Well, that's a good point.
Or let's talk about the countries. Let's talk about the countries where women are not allowed to show any part of their body out in public except for their eyes, and sometimes not even that. They have to have their face completely covered and never be able to show it in public at all. And to think, 50 years ago in that country, 60 years ago in that country, they were dressing the same as women did in the United States during the same time period. But now, can't even show your damn face in public. And that's only if you're a woman. You want to talk about freedom being taken away? That's freedom being taken away. Now, and we can make the parallel. Oh, well, masks are just like that. Difference is, masks are for everybody, not just one specific person.
I would
one gender.
I would use a bit different an analogy in that let's consider like I said, I'm going to take it straight back to American history. And you need to look at this as far as what it actually is. You need to look at the fact that people were robbed from one country and brought over here to the point where it was so bad that their children and their children's children were not, and I'm not talking just slavery. I'm talking about the aftermath of that, even when it was declared. The amount of ridiculous abuse and inhumane treatment that was, and we're talking like, yes, you want to talk about the murder? Yes, we'll talk about the murder. We'll talk about the forced fighting against your own personal rights because you knew that there were black Confederate soldiers, and you know that they didn't want what they were doing.
You're looking at
that's what true loss of freedom is, to where you are recruited to fight for something not only that you don't agree with, but that literally hurts you. You fight to keep something that hurts you. And maybe, possibly, you might be convinced that it could be something that you want, depending. But I highly doubt that was the case in most of these cases.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that during that time they were not even people; they were property.
Right.
And then
that's what loss of freedom is.
There was legal standards that made them be able to be counted as part of a person, 3/5 of a person.
Yeah.
But not as a real person. But even then, they didn't get any rights with that. They were just counted that way so that the people that owned them had more rights.
Yep.
And again, they were owned by other people, and when they had children, their children were owned by those same people. They were property. They weren't even considered to be human like the rest of people.
And again,
And so yeah, again, you want to, if you really want to,
yeah,
this is a better analogy to think about. You really want to talk about losing your freedom. That's how you lose your freedom. You don't, you know, you're wearing a mask. Somebody doesn't own you.
yeah,
That's a big difference.
And
That's
by
a
the
big
way,
difference.
we're touching this light. We are touching this light.
Oh yeah.
We're not considering things like we're not considering things like rape. We're not considering
no,
like lost family lineages that trace people to the founding fathers that did horrible, unspeakable things to people that they owned that they should never have had a right to own. We're not even really touching on that.
Slow down.
The problem I have a very, very emotional problem with this
argument,
that people consider that being asked to be considerate of people around you is some loss of freedom. You don't fucking know what loss of freedom is.
And that's
no clue. And this is nowhere near
exactly
that.
it. That's exactly it. That's exactly where I'm coming from in this.
Yeah.
Is that and you told me to tone it down, but you're the one that's getting really mad about it.
Sorry, man.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
thank
I like
you.
it. It's good. I get to be good cop for once. The thing that I used to be good cop all the time when my wife was the bad cop and would just yell and scowl and throw things at people. Now she's mellowed out and she's the good cop all the time. I'm the bad one that yells. I'm not allowed to throw things, but I yell a lot. Anyway, and I do my lectures a lot. The point here is, people, you are acting selfishly. You are acting like your own personal feelings are the most important thing, and the cares and concerns of anybody else around you is not. And that is selfish to the core. You're using something like freedom and misusing it, abusing that kind of terminology, because life isn't exactly perfect the way you want it to be, where you can do whatever the hell you want. And what happened? COVID cases have spiked. You already have major cities, at least here in California, that are starting to require masks be worn again. LA is starting to require. In fact, all LA county.
I knew that there was a rumor they were talking about it, but they've enacted it now.
They
I know the CDC is recommending, even if you're fully vaccinated, mask out if you're inside.
They are the LA
or mask
County
on
is
if you're inside, rather.
LA County is moving towards. I don't know if it's yet. Maybe by the time that this airs, LA County is enacting it, or is going to be enacting it. So have I heard. The rumors are Sacramento is going to be enacting.
Shut up! No way.
Yes, I have heard it is coming back. The mask mandates are going to be coming back.
Boy, this is a hell of a time. This is a hell of a time for that to happen. You want to guarantee a recall? Oh.
Well,
and it's don't get me wrong, it's far more important. Public safety is far more important than politics. I will put that out there 150% any day of the week. But that is definitely going to see that is. And here's the funny part about that, man. If there's anybody that knows how to try to change something based upon on a one issue, based on one issue, it is voters of a certain ilk. And voters of another ilk need to definitely keep that in mind and come out in the same amount of droves that they did to combat that short-sightedness.
Yeah, that's a topic for another day. I'm just saying.
I know. It's just we need to do this for concern of public safety. I personally think this is this is more. I consider this type of situation that we're talking about right now as more of a venting of frustrations and just a conversation about what we're observing, right?
This is part of it. Part of it is this is me saying, look what happened. You were given freedom, a little bit of freedom. Y'all went in what you thought was freedom. You were given an opportunity to have things be a little bit different, to try to go back part way. Again, we already been given a little bit part back of some normal. They try to let you go back part way for normal again. And what did you do? You just ran with it and abused it again. This is the reason we have rules. This is the reason we have laws. Because if we give you people just an inch, and I did say you people, I'm referring to Americans in this. If you're given just a little bit of an inch, you take that mile, and we got to put in the law to say, sorry, you can only have the inch. Because if you don't have that law there, hell, even if you do, you still have people trying to take all that. But you at least have to have the laws in there, or the rules in there. Look what happened. Little bit of leeway on it. You run it all up, and now we're getting the spikes again. Florida's going nuts spiking, but of course Florida ain't going to do anything about it because it's Florida. But what it comes down to is this is what happens when you're given a little bit of leeway and you run wild with it. When you're given that, you need to still be responsible. Do it in a responsible way instead of just, we don't got to do it anymore. We don't got to follow these rules anymore. Let's go back to all the stupidity we did before. People, let's grow. Let's change. Let's do better. And let's think about the community as a whole instead of just thinking about ourselves. Just saying.
Yeah. It's not really like, I feel like this is this is partial, like, for myself, I feel this is partial, just like straight up venting, and then partial, like, attempt at a public service announcement. You know what I mean?
It's a little bit of both. It is a little bit of both.
And I say it's an attempt because it's not like we're not being asked to talk about this. This is just something that's on our minds. This is something that we consider.
And the 5 people listening to us, they're going to do whatever.
Yeah, well, we know full well that we're not going to reach the crowd that actually needs to consider this type of information. Most of the people that I would consider are listening to us probably agree with this philosophy. Otherwise, especially at this point, this late into the podcast, if you're still listening, you probably agree.
Yeah.
Because anyway, what we're talking about, what we're doing right now is we definitely know that we're not going to be doing anything to convince anyone who doesn't agree with us on this subject. And like I said, it's an people can argue personal rights, they can argue public safety versus that, but this is not like, I understand that this has been a conversation, and it's for years this conversation of public safety versus personal rights has hit more than one subject matter. And I think it's something that has become this gray area amoebic thing for probably the last couple centuries, because we've talked about this stuff for a while, and it's hit ahead for at least the past 30, 40 years.
The thing is, you want to think of it as a gray area for people on both sides of it, to the extreme on both sides. There's very black and white about this. I know that when there are certain personal possessions that are made of metal, eject other pieces of metal from them. Put that all together if you want to.
Yeah.
Should we not have these for public safety, or should we be allowed to have these for personal right to have them? Mm-hmm. That is a big issue. And it has been proven that personal right is much more important to the American people. Many other countries, not so much, but to the American people, the personal right is more important. And if you think about it though, that would actually be something that the founding fathers should be happy about, because they felt it was their personal right to have all this land, regardless of who they had to take it from and who they had to own to work the land for them. So I guess maybe it is always possible that we're the ones that are wrong, and the ones that believe in all of this selfishness and personal rights being more important are the more American ones than us. I don't know. I guess that's yet to be seen. But the point is, people, try to have more understanding of your community. Try to be more caring about the people around you, and stop being so damn selfish. That's what I have to say about all this.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mike,
man,
if people are still listening, where are they listening to us?
That's fantastic. Oh, that was a way to end it. Well, you can be listening to us on the XennialChronicles.com or Zencron.com. That's spelled Xenchron. You can also listen to us anywhere, pretty much, for the most part, that you get your podcasts. We're always working on finding new areas to get the podcast to, but go check us out on those platforms as well. And if you can't find us there, you should go check us out on our YouTube page. Or if you can find us there, go check us out on our YouTube page anywhere. We're trying to get, we need more people out to YouTube, man. We do. You could be listening to this podcast on YouTube as well. These do upload as videos. And I would suggest, if you do, and you do still like this conversation after as long of a lecture as that's been, please leave us a like on the video. make sure you hit the subscribe button as well if you like what we're doing, if you like the channel. And oh, damn it. I forgot something.
Did you forget something?
I think I forgot something. Man, I was on such a good roll too, and I completely I spaced.
Okay. People want to like the video, right?
Yeah, they want to like it,
and they want to subscribe.
Yeah,
but even if they're subscribed,
right?
Like, how do they know when we put out a new one?
You know what? A lot of the time, I do find out that when people do subscribe, sometimes they don't we can't just go out with a bullhorn in the streets and tell everybody. There's got to be some kind of an alarm or something that can be used that they have to...
Alarm.
Yeah, alarm! There's got to be some kind of, I don't know, something that notifies them, because just subscribing doesn't necessarily tell you when we come out with a video.
True.
Like, you would have to actively go into your list of videos of subscriptions and see who's did it. Like, you have to take the time out of the day.
Wouldn't there be a
There's got to be something.
Wouldn't it be nice if there was a thing that you could just, like, put the mouse over and push the button on the mouse?
Yeah, there's got to be another button, but it's not the subscribe button. See, that's not the way YouTube works. There's something else.
It should look like something, right?
Yeah, something simple, something
roundy?
Something iconic.
Triangle shaped?
Well, I mean, a triangle would work, technically speaking. If you're out on a farm and dinner's ready.
I think I know what it is.
What?
Is it one of Quasimodo's favorite things?
You know what? That sounds like I almost said it as a figure of speech. I caught myself.
I would like to know. I'll know later what the figure of speech. But what Mike is referring to is, of course, we need to click the bell.
Yes, make sure you click the bell. Ring that bell to get notified the next time we put out a podcast or a video. That way,
please. I was going to say please do, but then you kept going.
I almost said, man, when you were talking about the Quasimodo thing, I was like, and I just about accidentally said, I was like, man, that kind of rings a bell, but I'm not quite sure what it's going to be. Like it.
Yeah,
I don't know if you actually caught that or not.
I could have riffed off that, but anyway, while you're there, while you're on YouTube, doing all the clicking things, the bell, the subscribe, the like, all that. Make sure to check out Mike's other two pages: Chronosode Games, where Mike plays video games with his wife, and Ruling Note Music, where Mike talks about music stuff. Mike likes to put himself on YouTube a lot. It seems.
I try.
That seems to be his kind of
fun.
Thing. By the way, I don't know if you. I just want to. Add something real quick for the Chronosode Games thing. I feel sorry for you, man. They of course they just come out with Skyward Sword on the Switch, so you actually and with that you can either play using the accelerometer controls in the Switch stuff, just like you had to do with the Wii, or you can turn off the accelerometer stuff and just be able to play without it.
Okay, so get this. I happen to have we picked it up. Duh.
Yeah.
We picked it up, and we also got the new Joy-Cons too, the ones that they've got the Master Sword and the Hylian Shield paint job, which are dope, by the way. I love them. And I decided yesterday to try it out because we picked it up Friday, and I was like, you know what, why not? And I'm playing it with the traditional controls, and there's more quality of life improvements they have. First off, skippable text, which is amazing. Autosave. So you can autosave now without having to hunt down a fucking statue. And the controls, the button controls, they call it button controls. So you can use the sword, but you use it swinging around, like you jerk around the right joystick, and you can actually do the directional sword controls. The gyro controls, the accelerometer controls inside the actual Joy-Cons are far higher quality. But there's also accelerometer controls that's still used in handheld in button control mode, where you can still tilt the controller to aim like the bow.
Oh, nice.
So
okay.
It's really, really, really nice.
I wonder how that would transfer over to the Switch Lite. But anyway, that's a fun note for anybody that's actually checked out the Chronosode Games thing.
I really
jealous. Wish that when you were first playing Skyward Sword, which is one of the first games that they did because it's the first in the Legend of Zelda timeline.
Yeah.
Not the first made, but the first in the timeline. Look it up. Or watch Chronosode Game Stuff and they will tell you.
Yeah.
But I really wish you had had video of you trying to use the sword with the Wii remote, just because it would have been so funny to watch. Anyway, thank you all for listening. Again, we'll be taking a week off, especially with how long this one was. We got almost 2 hours coming at you here. We'll be taking a week off. So you hear this one, week off, and then we'll be back at it afterwards. All right?
Yes.
Y'all take care.
Y'all have a good one.
Thank you for tuning in, friends. The journey continues.
In 2 weeks.